Hello. Um, I've been making music and art for a while now, uh, mostly as Pictureplane, and I've I got my start in working in DIY venues in Denver, Colorado. I helped start a, a warehouse venue called Rhinoceropolis, and Rhinoceropolis ran for 11 years, and um, lots of people lived there throughout the years, but it's really where I got my start performing, setting up shows, booking art shows and music shows, um, hosting tons of touring artists from all over the world. And living in that space really allowed me, was what sort of exposed me to a broader connectivity of DIY culture around North America, but also internationally too. And so I'm going to talk more about that tonight, I think.
Prurient and Hospital Productions began in '97. It was an act of necessity because no one would release our music or book shows for us, so we took to public spaces at the time. It only required a $25 ad in the local newspaper, and if the show was free and open to the public, you had access to these spaces. And the reason why that was important was because there was electoral outlets. So we brought in amps, and you could do a show essentially outdoors in these public parks. And it might seem inconsequential now, but at the time, having any kind of space at all was critical to doing something in the real world.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of this, is how important space is for nurturing underground culture. I think it's hugely important to have space that allows artists and musicians to experiment and to be themselves.
Definitely, Travis and I have been speaking a lot in the last couple of days about all of these topics, and from 2006 to 2011, Hospital Productions operated as an illegal store space in New York. And during that time, so many of the people that walked in the doors are now people that I work with or have become personal friends. And the space is nothing special. It was just a small retail store, just a box. And even though I travel continuously and have for 15 years on tours, there's something about the process of touring that does not foster lasting relationships in the same way that just having a box with a door on it did. I think that the process of touring, you're
Having
continually in the, you're always leaving. You're always thinking about leaving, thinking about the flight or the next show or whatever.
To them, it feels social, but it's not the same as getting a group of people together and working on something together, like with your hands, making something together in like a collaborative environment.
In a space, again, it all goes back to space. And that's why something like this is so important, because it's physical and it's real. And if you look at a club like Berghain or Fabric, for the techno world, it's not necessarily that the music is any different or better, but just the fact that it's a physical space that exists. There's plenty of booking agencies and DJs and labels, but if you can attach a space to whatever it is that you do, it immediately separates you and elevates you from your peers in the most literal sense, that it is physical, and that creates a physical memory and a doorway and an opening for other people to join you. And your audience is only ever as big as what you allow it to be. And the audience is important, and I totally reject any musician or artist that says they don't care about their audience. This is all defined by audience. It's a collaborative experience. It's not an isolated one.
Going back to my point, I think things have changed a lot now too. with the internet and social media a bit, like things have gotten very image based, whereas subcultures, they've always been identified with visual themes and what people are wearing and things like this. But now I think people don't even really have to be involved in the underground, but they can look the part online or something, which is strange. I think that's people want to think that they are involved in underground culture, but they're only scratching the surface or something. Things have become quite surface level with because of social media and stuff nowadays, I think. So maybe that's a detriment. I don't talk shit too much on the internet because I still use it every day and stuff. It's how I'm getting out to the world and things. But I do think it's been a bit detrimental to communities and artistic support groups of each other.
One positive aspect I'll add to what Travis just said is that because it's an Instagram world and there is an emphasis on visual culture, from my background in the noise and industrial world, the visual culture is so much a part of the expression and the community beyond the music.
Yeah, I think Fort Thunder, DIY space in Providence, Rhode Island, in the late 90s, early 2000s, kind of set a blueprint for places like Rhinoceropolis, of artists living and working in a space, and the space is kind of alive as its own living, breathing art experiment. I think it all kind of goes back to Fort Thunder, really.
Absolutely.
That was a big influence on this place, and the place that existed in Denver before Rhinoceropolis, called Monkey Mania, that was directly connected with Fort Thunder. Is a cool connection all over the country of these spaces. It's like a community of like-minded people that are existing across the country. People are traveling, touring, and stopping at these places along the way. It's a way of shared community, but in different cities at the same time. Lightning Bolt played inside of here a few times. They were always really inspirational to us. This is the outside of Rhinoceropolis in Denver.
Looks great.
Yeah, totally nondescript building. It's like then you open the door and you're inside of this crazy like rainbow chaos land. This is a Lightning Bolt show, actually, in probably 2008 or something, 2009. This is a song with my friend Smart Death, who's a Canadian artist.
Staring at my face and your reflection. All the things I said made me still feel like a fool. But it's different now 'cause you're not around. And I hang on in In the shadow of your color spectrum. Spinning equinox over Tokyo Drill. In the shadow of your color spectrum. I saw the mouse run. Spinning equinox over Tokyo Drill. In the shadow of your color spectrum. I remember 2012. In the shadow of your color spectrum. Sunrise 2012 shines on our destiny. In the shadow of your color spectrum. Spring equinox over Tokyo Drill. In the shadow of your color spectrum.